Alrighty, so here we go. Once again, we have another head coach that ends up in the chopping block, and this one, I kind of called this one, didn't I, yesterday? Remember yesterday in the review after I reviewed the game between the San Jose Earthquakes versus LAFC, I said that this looked like could be the resort. That could be the end of Luchi Gonzalez, and that, this kind of reminds me of what happened back in 2018 when Mikael Starhay was being fired after a 5-1 loss against Sporting KC, and that was kind of the last straw, and eventually the front office pulled the trigger and basically fired Mikael Starhay because of that. Well, it seems like history has repeated itself with the way that after that 6-2 loss in the hands of LAFC, the San Jose Earthquakes has officially fired Luchi Gonzalez after just 1.5 season. And I think I'm just going to reiterate what I said in that review as well, where, yes, obviously, I think this is definitely the right move that the Quakes had to move on from Luchi Gonzalez. I mean, just to see how Luchi Gonzalez has coached this season has been kind of depressing, and that there's just so many things that I get very frustrated with Gonzalez. It's not just the negative tactics that time, but just the amount of times that he just kind of bunker in and just hope to see out victory that just does not work whatsoever because this team simply does not have a defense. I mean that kind of frustrates me, and I even said many times that it feels like when Luchi Gonzalez was hired, it feels like we kind of gone backwards in terms of how the Quakes used to be one of the funnest teams to watch under Mateus Almeida, but it seems like we're now back into the Dominic Kinnear era where it's just kind of playing scare on the road, maybe get a point or so, trying to stay compact and play this boring brand of soccer that we have seen throughout this season and especially last season as well. I mean, don't let last season distract you of the fact that this was one of the worst goal scoring team last season and just sneaked into the playoffs. But the bottom line is, despite the fact that obviously this is the right move that they had to let go of Luchi Gonzalez, this obviously does not fix anything. And I've said this many times throughout the review whenever I talk about the Quakes coming off of a loss that the biggest problem of this team isn't just Luchi Gonzalez. He's definitely part of the problem. The biggest problem of this team is top from bottom. I mean, the front office of this team has been horrendous for pretty much a decade now, and obviously the grand puppet master in terms of this clown show that's gone on for a decade for the Quakes is Sean Fisher. I mean, every Quakes fans you talk to will say that the real guy that needs to let go of this team is Sean Fisher, but unfortunately, obviously, you can't fire an owner with the way that the only thing you're hoping that is eventually he does want to sell the team, and unfortunately, he's not willing to do so. And even though there's been numerous protests that has been gone on about that, and numerous frustration that's been shown by the Quakes fan base, it just doesn't seem like he's doing the right thing. But again, overall, when you look at this, and what's even sad about the Quakes situation is that I don't know if any head coach wants to take this job. This job right now is a huge black hole. This kind of reminds me a little bit when I talk about the Colorado Rapids in my moving forward series, where I talk about how the Rapids seems like we're in a similar situation. It was in a team that doesn't really spend a lot of money, and feels like whoever heads there, it's going to be a complete black hole. And little do we know that things kind of turn around, and that they start, of course, spend some money and start to be active. And who knows, maybe that might be something that the Quakes could do. Right now it seems like it's kind of a doom and gloom scenario in terms of the fact that I don't know if there's any head coach that wants to come to this job, because tell me when's the last time I've seen a Quakes head coach that actually has sustained success with this team? And don't tell me it's Mateus Almeida, because Almeida, yes, he has got this team to the playoffs before, but it was only one playoff appearance, and they lost that game against Sporting KC. It just feels like this is a huge black hole right now of whoever wants to take this job, and it's getting to a point where it feels like maybe they're gonna go in a route where it's very similar to what we see maybe some teams that doesn't have head coach right now, and maybe something that we have seen a lot more recently than before, and that of course is promote within. Basically, you bring in an interim head coach there, and then if he works out, then you basically promote him as the permanent head coach, and then the rest is history. And we have seen that of course, at times has been successful. I think probably the best example of it is when Pablo Mastroeni was the interim head coach for RSL, and then he got promoted as the permanent head coach. And look where RSL is right now being at the top of the Western Conference. But again, with the way that now Ian Russell does get a chance, and I think this has been something that Quakes fans has been screaming this front office to do. Put Ian Russell as the head coach of this team. At least give him a chance to do so. We'll see whether or not if the resort is going to be there. And I have heard a lot of promise about Ian Russell, and especially with the way that this was supposed to be a guy that a lot of Quakes fans wanted to see as the head coach after Dom Kinnear, of course, was let go a couple of years ago. So we'll see if he of course does well. Obviously, I think he is gonna at least do well in the beginning because again, the new interim head coach boost is definitely a real thing. We're seeing it with FC Dallas, and in some way we see it with Nashville as well, and to some extent we saw it with Atlanta United, and also not to mention this firing kind of came at a time where it's right before probably the biggest game of the season for the Quakes, and really kind of the besides the Leeds Cup tournament. This is kind of the biggest thing that every Quakes fans are looking forward to, and that of course is the Cali Clasico at Stamford Stadium. So yeah, we'll see whether or not if these players can really pick up the slack. I mean, again, one of the other thing I will also go back to say about Luchi Gonzalez, and that as much as I know the Quakes have given up so many goals this season, they're on pace of not only breaking the record for the most goal conceded in MLS history, but maybe even smash that with the way that they even said they're on point of giving up 91 goals this season, and there's no team that have given up even 80 plus goal, let alone 90 that they of course would do. But hopefully with this new interim head coach boost, maybe the defense will be a little bit more solidify. And not to mention, if they can get that done, and also on the attacking end, I think there's no doubt that there are still some talent on this team, and this is also where maybe this could be used as a way to kind of encourage maybe new head coach coming into this team, or maybe could be something that at least Ian Russell can work with the fact that at least he has some foundation pieces on the attack that he knows that he can work with. He just needs to basically fix the defense and also maybe find new goalkeeper because right now the they just have no answer in terms of that position. Obviously, Jacob Jackson doesn't seem like he's the answer with the way that he gave up 6 goals in the last game. But yeah, obviously that's going to be something that Ian Russell's going to have to work with, and he's also going to hope that maybe the front office will give him the resources, which is something that's a lot to ask when you come from the Quakes. And speaking of the front office, if you want to talk about who needs to also be let go. I mean, I have heard some people have said Chris Leach, and yes, Chris Leach had at times make some some moves that just doesn't make any sense and doesn't work out. But at the end of the day, like I said, Chris Leach can only do so much if the ownership does not give him the money to do so. And again, this goes back to where we talked about before. The grandmaster of this clown show that's gone on for the Quakes for the past decade is Sean Fisher. Once Sean Fisher does leave this team, it is pretty clear that this team is going to have a renaissance. I wouldn't say it's going to be instant, and again, it depends on who, of course, is the new ownership. But when that day does happen, I'm pretty sure Quakes fans will celebrate that like they won an MLS Cup. Like when that day finally they happen, I'm pretty sure it doesn't really matter how bad a season is. Heck, if it happens tomorrow, I'm pretty sure Quakes fans will say the season is an instant success because that's what they've been wanted to do, and I don't blame him. I mean, I myself want to finally see John Fisher eventually getting let go and decide to step down because we have seen what he has done to the Quakes, and we have especially seen what he does with other team. I mean, look at the A's right now. In MLB, another team that John Fisher basically on and how bad they are. And before you ask, yes, because they're bad because they're stripping everything down before they moved to Vegas. I mean, yeah, but still that doesn't explain the fact that they should just be bad and just kind of it's almost to a point where it seems like John Fisher just simply don't care about his team. And when you're an owner of a team and you have that kind of attitude, it's no wonder why the fan base of both of the team that John Fisher owned is basically demanding him to sell the team. I mean, I know the A's, of course, have to sell the team T-shirt. I would not be surprised if we see the Quakes might be wearing that too. And again, hopefully, eventually, one day we'll see the glorious day of seeing John Fisher no longer being the owner of the San Jose Earthquakes. But until then, it's just kind of the same cycle that the Quakes, of course, are stuck in. Probably hire a head coach that maybe will be good enough in short term, but eventually fall off, and then basically hire another head coach, and it will be a short term success before it sucks again, and it's an endless cycle that has to frustrate me. Pretty sure much every Quakes fans that basically support this team. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of me talking about my reaction of this firing of Luchi Gonzalez. Obviously, this has been a longer video than usual because obviously this is one of my team, and that it kind of sucks the fact that it feels like I'm making this almost every single year talk about a head coach being fired from the Quakes. The Quakes have not had a lot of stability in terms of this position. The only stability that they have, easy for me to say, is when we had Mateus Almeida for a couple of seasons. But even then, there was some kind of broken relationship to a point where it kind of ends in a sour note by the fourth season. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.